So those of you on Twitter knew this video was coming. Quick stuff in the beginning as usual. I might as well answer a question. This Scumbag series is really more about a format where I can talk about people or groups or concepts or news organizations in a kind of rant format that allows for a lot more loose kind of comedic stuff instead of the usual thing. So it's kind of a gimmick basically, and I'm only saying this since I got those questions about what I actually mean by scumbag. So I'm just saying I do not genuinely hate every single person that is on this list, including No Bullshit. I do not think that they're literally Satan. I do have a lot of issues with the channel that I'm talking about in this, but I don't hate them. And this video took a really long time to edit, and I'm just gonna leave it as it is because I don't have good enough internet to actually stream something to. So we're gonna go with a video like this. With that being said, so No Bullshit is a typical anti-SJW channel. He was first brought to my attention by a video he did on a Pepsi ad, if you remember that happening, and in itself it was a pretty entertaining video, but I never really subscribed and kind of moved on. The first time I really looked into it was when I saw some videos on it by some other people, Battening, The God of Hair, and Wuzzy. And this shit finally made me really look into it. I think that by addressing these things, I'm also talking about a larger problem that we have, especially with the idea of the kind of downside of having a, I guess, exaggerated backlash against feminism, and this idea that in every single area you're always going to have people who take it a bit too far. So the first thing I want to talk about is the idea of what he does on his channel, that being anti-SJW content. So the idea that Battening expressed about him being a parody, I kind of half agree. I half disagree because I see it as more of a monkey's paw sort of thing, and I will explain what I mean. See, the main criticism that I have, as well as many others, regarding his content is the idea that everything about the world is SJW related. In the same way that SJWs think that everything is related to misogyny and racism. This is what I mean by monkey's paw. You wish for something and it backfires and it goes wrong. There's always a catch. So far, everyone has been hoping for a bunch of people to start criticizing feminism and for there to be a pushback and a backlash against all of this stupid identity politics stuff. And then when we go too far with that, your wish kind of backfires and you see the catch of that. You see people starting to make everything about SJWs in the same way that SJWs do about their issues. So random insults that don't help anything, playing the victim, seeing SJW politics everywhere, deflecting, so on and so forth. In some ways I kind of understand that because when I first started this channel I just wanted to rant about stuff. I was still in high school and hated all that stupid shit slowly creeping in, and if I hadn't really looked at where I was going with it and actually tried to think about it properly, I would probably be doing the same thing. I would just be letting all my anger get to me and seeing it everywhere. So that's a huge problem because people are just letting themselves do this and thinking that it's justified because those damn SJWs, instead of actually looking at the reason why SJWs were such a thing that people hated in the first place. Because they're the ones who put politics into everything and try to make it about themselves. So,
a true red-pilled alpha motherfucker.
Of course I'm going to mention the debates and all of that, that's a no-brainer, but I'm going to use my critique of these clips from the debates as a framework to bring up other stuff because explaining this stuff is difficult as it is. First we're going to bring up insults here and talking over people as well.
Understand shit, you're a dumbass motherfucker. I'm Destiny and I'm fucking loser. You're a creepy incest loving loser, bro. Okay, I'm meek and I'm a pussy. I'm just gonna take it like a little bitch.
So your argument was
that you're dumb and you're a terrible host.
I'm going to be using the Destiny debates, and for the sake of brevity not making any clips that I might play too long, and you can always just watch them yourself. So it seems pretty obvious that when Destiny presents something that No BS doesn't have an answer for, he gets very defensive and starts insulting. Now, here's the thing. I'm not really defending Destiny here. I've never really liked him too much, and I'm not trying to defend one viewpoint over the other. See, the thing that I notice is when No Bullshit doesn't have an answer for something, he gets very defensive and starts insulting, and when Destiny responds by just going okay and sitting there and waiting for him to finish, No Bullshit makes fun of that too.
Okay, I'm meek and I'm a pussy. I'm just gonna take it like a little bitch.
Now this is a major problem because it's just an entire point about it's okay when I do it and shutting down dialogue and not making yourself actually look like someone who's ready to have a discussion. Firstly, the best way to make a stupid person sound stupid is to allow them to speak and show it themselves. And if you truly believe that Destiny is stupid when he makes his point, and that you believe he makes his point badly and it has a lot of holes and contradictions in it, then let him speak. What No Bullshit did was continuously call him names and rattle off insults to derail the conversation, and is just showing that he himself does not know what he's talking about. Regardless of if he actually had a response or not, the fact that he chose not to use it does leave a very big impression on the way that the debate is going and who is being the more mature person. Especially when you use those insults to continue to belittle the person because of the way that they're reacting to you, just to make it seem like they're losing in your mind. This is an extremely unhealthy way to do things, because it sets the standard where you shut people down by pushing them over as soon as they say something that you don't like. It also makes it look like you give this power to insults, like they're useful tools for countering an argument, when in reality you pretty much just use them to make things funnier and more entertaining. That's about it. They don't really do much outside of that. And one of the biggest things that is wrong with all of this is there's this whole stereotype about what anti-SJW really means, and this whole caricature of everyone who disagrees with a feminist is a racist and a sexist, and all they do is have insults and harassment and they don't actually do anything. And acting like this is just confirming that. Just making yourself look exactly like they want you to so that they can have that demon to slay. And I'm not really putting this in the context of like we have a community and we have to keep it that way and we all have to act a certain way or anything. I'm just saying for you yourself, for the person who is actually doing this. If you are frustrated that people are trying to make you seem like this horrible person who is acting this way, why are you giving in to that? Regardless of anyone else who's working in the same topic. And the "it's okay when I do it" sort of thing it's just interesting when he throws all of these insults at people, calling I think I'm real a woman and whatnot, and for being someone who talks about people being triggered all the time and all of those sort of talking points, he does react interestingly when someone sends insults his way. Now, when we're on the subject of "it's okay when I do it," we should talk about some contradictions. These are things that No Bullshit says or does that don't really mesh together, and it isn't really as much of a major thing as what I was just rambling about, but I just thought I'd mention it.
A true red-pilled alpha motherfucker.
First, No Bullshit seems to make this weird comment repeatedly about the fact that he went to college.
None of your undergrad classes, you didn't learn that you probably shouldn't cite like academic authority without actually knowing what academic like consensus is on an opinion?
You're gonna ask me for sources again?
I'm not asking you for a source. It's just like a random thing.
You're
like,
such an idiot.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm a huge dick
That's
for
what, like,
asking you to source your statement.
Pseudo-intellectuals do that all the time.
Pseudo-intellectuals ask for sources on statements?
Yeah.
Wow, my bad.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I asked you...
This is what you would have learned in college if you went.
Yes.
No,
you
dude,
isolate...
I went to college.
Because...
You're a dumbass who didn't even go to college. I think you're smart, but you're not. You didn't even go to college.
And that's a bad thing?
I mean, did you go to college?
Now, he has a communications degree, and while I'm not saying that that's not worth anything, it definitely does not make sense to bring it up in the way that he does. He'll be talking about some random thing in a debate and then bring up the degree, but not mention it's a communications degree, just kind of say it in general. And then bring up how, say, the person he's talking to is stupid because they didn't go to college. Like, that's just one of the things he says the most, and it kind of reminds me of that dude Ryan Wiley, where he brings up his math degree and it makes no sense because he's not talking about maths. It's like if I'm talking about advanced gardening and I bring up the fact that I'm a psych major. It's also weird how, coupled with this and talking about college, whenever someone brings up his use of ad homs and other fallacies, he says that they're using terms from debate school.
Throwing out fucking red herrings constantly.
You're just throwing out high school debate words.
So is this whole school and college thing a bad thing or a good thing? Because you seem to think it's a good thing sometimes and a bad thing other times. And that doesn't really make sense anyway. Like, so what if they use these terms from debate class? If they're applying them correctly and actually knowing what these terms mean, then it's a good thing that they know that. It doesn't matter if they learned it from debate class or not. Another thing. Him and Destiny were talking about black people and police, and No Bullshit says he thinks black people get caught more because they have guns hanging out of their pockets.
Black people get caught more by the police for smoking weed when white people
because
do
they're not hiding it well and they're flagrant about it. I mean, it's just the same reason that they might get pulled over with weapons more because they have weapons hanging out of their pockets or something. It's just they're not.
Do you think that it's common that black people drive around with weapons hanging out of their pocket? Do you think that's a fair assessment of the average black criminal?
No, but that sounds like a good quote.
Well, I mean, I'm quoting you. You just said it.
Now here's the thing. There are many arguments about why black people can commit more crime, because of poverty or the victim culture being enforced, or fatherlessness, or poor resources, especially with the kind of egging on that Black Lives Matter has been doing to try and stir up more of this stuff instead of actually helping people. You can say this point and phrase it so that you can actually explain what you mean. And even though No Bullshit did not phrase his point well at all, he still could have explained why he thinks more black people have guns hanging out of their pockets. He could have tried to put some of that stuff in. But the thing is, he's demonstrated to me that even if he just makes a mistake and doesn't word shit well, he kind of doubles down and blames it on others for not understanding his point.
It's just an appeal to social contract. You're not breaking any social contracts with anyone by eating meat, so therefore it's ethical. Well, if you're going to appeal to social contract, then you could use that same thing to justify slavery. If we lived in a society
you brought up slavery quick, man. Are we like 2 minutes in?
Well, it's a completely valid argument. Like, if you're going to appeal to social contracts...
Slavery is not equal to eating meat.
That's besides the point. It's not...
You compared it to eating meat, and it's...
No, I didn't compare it to eating meat. If you're going to say that all suffering is justified because we can't eliminate all suffering, do you think that it is immoral to drive cars because some people are going to end up getting killed by cars?
So you're saying that driving cars is the same as eating food?
No, I'm not. Like,
why are you comparing?
Would you kill that pig yourself?
Why? What does this have to do with the morality?
No. Would you kill that pig yourself? So why wouldn't you kill an animal yourself?
Why do you insist on asking that question over and over?
Because it points out that you're a hypocrite.
You choose veganism. There's ways to reduce suffering more than veganism. Why aren't you a freegan?
Freegan?
You eat off the land. You eat people's waste. You eat things that have already died naturally.
Well, that's really still veganism.
No, I mean, technically it is, but it's actually less suffering than veganism. And then if you want to take this to the logical conclusion, I mean, you could just kill yourself. I'm not saying you should kill yourself.
Well, no.
Or he says it's all the joke is a cop-out. Because when he was talking about Was Lee and faked a screenshot of trying to prove he didn't block Was, people called him out on it and he tried to play it off like he was just trolling. And when it comes to shit like the black people example, instead of explaining himself and making the argument more clear or saying, I misspoke there, this is what I'll explain, he simply doubles down. Simply kind of brushes it off and doubles down, and it's never his fault. That's really the biggest problem here. People just need to admit that they make mistakes when they do. It's perfectly fine. If somebody really wants you to be perfect all the time, then that's their problem. Everybody misspeaks, everybody says the wrong thing every now and again. That's totally fine. If people just go, okay, I recognize that, that's fine. But if you keep doubling down and saying that everyone isn't seeing your hilarious troll, you're not making it easy on yourself, especially when it comes to people debating you, because you'd come off as the sort of person who would instantly just flip out in a debate, and then block people and talk shit about them.
A true red-pilled alpha motherfucker.
A while back people were talking about the idea of an all-female Lord of the Flies, and if you remember the original story, they were all young boys in it. And obviously a lot of feminists jumped on it saying that the female Lord of the Flies would never happen because women are just all perfect and they would hold hands and sing songs and just build a friendly society together. And yes, I know this is a ridiculous notion, and No Bullshit made a video about it, understandably so. However, in his response, he was not much better than the argument he was arguing against.
I think the plot of the book wouldn't happen with all women is because girls wouldn't make it a week on the island by themselves. And they certainly wouldn't band together and build a cohesive government and mini-society. No fucking way. The girls would start tearing each other apart on the first damn day. We all know how catty women can be, especially with each other. They're like wild animals. Imagine them actually out in the wild.
So here's the thing. The whole reason that people are mad at the feminists is because not only are feminists treating genders as if it's a constant contest where one gender needs to be complete shit and horrible and the other gender needs to be amazing angels, as if it's some sort of unending war, but they're also just making this argument that the world is just split into two groups, one being men who all act a certain way and one being women who all act a certain way, and again there has to be a good one and a bad one. The comment that No Bullshit makes sounds like he's making it a contest between which gender is better, and he also makes it sound like women in general can't do shit. It's not much better than the feminist argument here. And let me explain what bothers me the most about all of this. This whole thing was just discussing the idea of a group of people and then just left them alone by themselves away from society. And the boys didn't look good either. They didn't look like they were actually doing a good job, because whenever these sorts of things pop up, people always get shocked at the idea of human beings being shown doing something that's a lot more animalistic than people like to think. So it isn't really like the boys were triumphant here. Again, with thinking this is a contest, thinking that women would do better or men would do better. In reality, it's just talking about human beings in general. And yes, there are obviously differences between men and women. There's obviously a bunch of differences across demographics. But at the end of the day, all of these sort of social commentary kind of things, they're all just talking about humanity in general. And if anything, going against these sort of ideas that everything needs to be divided by gender or divided by a demographic and put into a sort of contest. It's all just kind of, if you strip humanity down to just itself, what will happen? And that's why both No Bullshit and feminists are wrong here. Putting your identity politics in it is just missing the point completely. That's really why people are mad. That's why it has similarities and differences to the Ghostbusters remake. Similarities because people are just sick of remakes and sick of politics being put into those remakes and ruining the source material. But different because while Ghostbusters did deal with themes it considered important, it was just one of those straight up stories with entertainment in it. It was just serving its purpose as something to entertain people. But the Lord of the Flies thing, it's like if we remake a 1984 where you completely ignore what it's really there for and what the ideas are supposed to be communicating, and we just kind of screw it up just because. It's completely ignoring the actual point of the source material, or it's actually proving the point of the source material. If the source material is dealing with people who are so obsessed with their own politics that they want to put it into everything.
A true red-pilled alpha motherfucker.
The thing I want to talk about is this. No Bullshit said that people seeing his Brooks Show channel and connecting it was doxing. No. You yourself showed it, and you had that channel beforehand, and you advertised a face reveal on Patreon.
Quick announcement about our Patreon page. Before we go, first, if we get back to 1,000 per month, I'll be recording a full video with my beautiful face. Which, if you haven't seen my face reveal yet, it's on there, under the rewards for $1.
And did connect your channel and your old channel. And
you met a true red-pilled alpha motherfucker.
And yes, this was fucking hell to get through. I am still not entirely happy with the way that I phrased this, but it's just something that I kinda had to get over and do it already because I would keep putting it off. But I completely understand if you don't think I worded things properly, or if you don't think that it was coherent to follow. That's completely fine. But to finish off, I will reiterate again, I do not hate this person. I don't like them, and there are some criticisms I have, but that doesn't mean that I hate them. Same goes for everyone in the Is A Scumbag playlist. Anyway, it's super late and I'm super tired, so I'm going to quickly do some updates and head off. So if you aren't interested in hearing that sort of stuff, that's totally fine, and thank you for watching. So since we're getting to the end of the year, I figured I might as well do a sort of audit to see what's going on. Thankfully, I'm getting some stuff sorted out over here, so you won't have to deal with stupid stuff like hearing my computer make really horrible noises and stuff like that. Not exactly sure quite where that's gonna go down, but I'm working on it. Since a lot of people say that they really love my voice, I have come up with this idea to do a kind of guided meditation video. Maybe 2 of them. I will put up a poll at some point talking about what type of guided meditation you want me to go through, because I will be writing that stuff myself and then just reading out and putting some very soft music in the background or something, maybe some sound effects like rain. So if you're interested in that and that might help you, let me know. It's just, the differences really here are, there are 2 types of guided meditation that I do. The first one is kind of using heat imagery, like you're sitting in an armchair next to the fire and they're using all those like heat imagery, fire imagery. The second one is more of a cool imagery, so with that I usually do something like during the nighttime you're in like you're floating on the surface of a lake or something like that. It's just which one's more preferable to you, if you prefer them both one after the other or if you prefer them in separate videos. Also, I have officially gone through 7 days of my 365-day writing prompt thing, which is where I basically have to write 1 story every single day. But yeah, this was, I don't know why this was such a hard video to script. Pretty much everyone else who's done a video on this topic is way better than me, so you should probably watch those. And I really need to have a cup of tea after this, so bye.
Strong enough to, not listen to society. You say that you have to listen to society. I say no.
What do you mean by not listen to society? What has society ever told you that you have defied?
Okay, well, I'm a fat ass. So I don't give a shit. I don't care about weight. I don't give a fuck about what people say about weight, and I do fine. I don't give a shit what the society tells me my weight should be, or what I should eat, or what I should drink, or what I should smoke, or who I should fuck. You just said I admitted I'm grossly overweight. I've never said that.
Oh, I thought we did that in a discussion once. You said that you defied societal standards by being overweight. Are you saying you didn't say that?